Are you sick and tired of being stuck in dysfunctional organization? While other executives and leaders are far less qualified with far more impact and success. They're winning better clients, better relationship, and generating new opportunities, even during the recession. You must be wondering what they're doing differently. So let's discover your infinite leadership and organizational potential.
What is your moonshot vision? Or do you even know? Have you been sailing to see success without any future planning? See, many companies prize, and all of a sudden the tide's gone out and they're left stranded in the dock. Is that what you want for your business, your customers, or even your teams?
Is your organization struggling to solve complex challenges with limited technical resources? Did your organization choose a technology solution for a problem, but is that solution becoming yet another problem? Does your organization lack interdisciplinary expertise for making informed decisions to translate your business vision into technical realities?
Are you sick and tired of working on multiple plans, working on silos, working with departments who are working on hidden agendas, working in firefighting mode and on unrealistic time frames that people don't understand the concept of lead time, that you want to scream enough?
It's hard. It's hard to see your people are overwhelmed because of the day-to-day dysfunctional operation. Are they wasting their time by spending their effort on ineffective inputs while creating poor quality outputs? It feels like repetitive, never-ending closed loop, right? It's because the missing link between the input and the output in the whole organization. Do you know where is the missing link in your organization?
Welcome to Matrix Momentum. Hello everyone. Welcome to the Matrix Momentum LinkedIn Live. We had a little bit of glitch and technical difficulty, but I'm glad that you can see me at the moment. And we're wanting to introduce you to multidimensional solution for magnitude of issues that your organization might be facing. Let's start with our first guest that we're having here today. And our first guest would be joining us from Ireland. Let's hear from our guest here, Dr. Future State, Shay. How are you doing, Shay?
I'm fantastic, Izabela. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Please share a little bit with us what's going on in Dublin, Ireland, and Europe.
Dublin, well, Dublin is a very, very quiet place. It's very locked down with the pandemic. Some companies are struggling, but we're keeping it real, Izabela. We're keeping our heads up, we're keeping positive, and things will get better. So we're a positive bunch.
That's fantastic. Glad to hear that. Welcome to Matrix Momentum. And now we're having another guest, another key member joining us here. Let's see, where did he go? I think we've lost one member. We're gonna go to Hamamsy. Hamamsy, welcome. He is joining us from the Dubai in Saudi Arabia. I'm sorry, in the United Arab Emirates. How are you doing?
How are you, Izabela? How are you, Shay? Thank you so much for this great show. And of course, to talk about Dubai here, the situation is getting better. The people are getting more vaccinated here, and things are getting better. Even events started to go in April. They started to advertise for events, so we are positive that things is going to get better soon.
Brilliant.
Fantastic. And now we're going to be adding our guest from Berlin, Germany, Aravinth. Welcome. How are you doing?
Hi, Izabela. Thanks. As you have mentioned, technical difficulties are always there in technology. So that's what it's a part of a human challenge, and all good. And as Hamamsy and Shay explained, the situation globally is similar. Maybe on a better side. Today we had a wonderful weather, 18 degrees Celsius. But I think for the first time in this year, we could go out without, wearing tight jackets and shoes and have an ice cream, and could see happiness in people's life outside.
Brilliant.
That is fantastic. Little pleasures, right? And reminding us what is life all about. And now we're going to have another guest that is going to be joining us from Saudi Arabia, and we wanted to make sure he's able to be part of the stream. So let's see if technology will let us have our special guest here today. Khaled, are you there?
Yes. Hi, Izabela. Hi, Shay, Irvin, Hamamsy. How are you guys?
Fabulous.
How's everything? Good.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Izabela, and the team for this beautiful initiative and that we have it today. And we are very, very, very keen to share our experience and stories about the situation here in Riyadh. Riyadh is amazing. Business is running. Temperature is very wonderful. Everything is shining around, and I'm blessed and wholly favored. Yes, there are some challenges, I would say, because of the pandemic, but I want to seize this moment to send all kind of love to our people all over the world because of the pandemic, who lost their family or their close friends. I'm sure and quite sure that they are in a better place right now. About the business, for sure there are struggles, and as we said, that 20% of life, it's what happened to us, and 80% how we respond to it. That's why this time we'll show this kind of leadership, who is the real leadership and the claimed ones. Rather than this, Riyadh is amazing.
That's fantastic. And I just wanted to again welcome you all from gorgeous Vail, Colorado, and also United States. And because things are also shifting and going hopefully in all right direction as well with you guys in your parts of the world. So with that in mind, I would love to start the opportunity to introduce Shay again with a little bit of his background story and some of his amazing superpowers, some of the things that he had to overcome in order to generate those superpowers. So Shay, please take a stage and let us know what that is.
Thanks, Izabela. Well, like before I tell you my superpowers, I'll tell you my story. Like I'm an engineer by trade. Building systems is what I do. I was also, as a kid, I used to break things so I could fix them. So I always knew problem solving would be a big part of what I do in life. And I set up my first business in 2007, just before the previous recession. And I'm a Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt. So I thought I've been a consultant, now I'm doing a business, I can do this. And things started getting tough, and we were working through it. And I remember sitting on at my desk on the first day of work, and I was challenged with getting business. I'm an engineer. I never did sales before, and I was literally sitting there at my desk going, what the hell do I do now? What do I do? And I really had to leverage my skills and start thinking about every single step of the process. And then not just my sales process, my customer experience process, my marketing process, my service delivery, everything. And I started building up these mechanisms and systems thinking, and I really started to leverage systems thinking, and that's what I do now. Even through a tough recession, I built that business from the ground up, turned it around and sold it, and that's what I do now. So my superpowers are systems thinking, problem solving, and strategy, making sure companies have amazing strategies that can thrive in good times and bad. And my final superpower, I'm Irish.
Yay!
Good one.
That's a great one. That's a great one. So now we're going to go and zoom into Aravinth. Aravinth, do you mind sharing a little bit about your background story and how life circumstances brought you in to be the subject matter expert in so many great things and things you do.
Great, thanks, Izabela. So as I'm here also a little bit responsible for the technology stack, and I'm at the same time solving some missing links and issues, and as our audience are asking. So thanks to be here. And as my story, it started in a different way. I was born and brought up in a war zone in Sri Lanka, and spent more than almost half of my life there. And when and it's same as the situation have been similar to several countries in global South. So one of the things that I didn't have at that age is access to perspective. So what's possible, that was not available. It's not only the perspective. We didn't have access to resources. We didn't have access to thought process, and we didn't have even normal access as a freedom. So at that age, I understood that okay, so now we have very limited things. How can we solve challenges with limited resources and limited things? And apart from that, and every day in a war zone is changing, is challenging, and it's dynamic, and it's changing. The day that I would go to school in a way wouldn't be the same way that I would go to the school the next day or come back home. So that it's dynamically changing. So to be dynamically, to survive in a dynamically changing environment, I had to be an interdisciplinary. I need to know different people as a network, and also I need to understand different things, how that works. Someday for several months we wouldn't have electricity, so we have to think in a way that how can we generate that electricity for ourselves. So this is how this core of me becoming as a frugal innovator, so to create innovations from whatever that is available, gave me a great motivation as soon as after I left the country and build been in around the world. And then I learned different disciplines, and with that knowledge I'm now helping organizations and individuals to make informed decision about their innovations, and it can be about their life situations and so on. And as a superpower, I would say that I'm and my core expertise lies in electromechanical engineering. So developing deep tech or hard tech innovations. And second superpower is I have this ability to understand the innovation life cycle from in prototype to production. And this helps a lot of people with this interdisciplinary and background, to look into different aspects of the innovation. And the third thing in the social entrepreneurship. So I see, because of my background being born in and grew up in this global South, I'm also able to see the social, economical, and environmental challenges, which are very necessary part of every organization and every innovation. So these are about my expertise, and I'm happy to share more about these.
Brilliant. Amazing.
Great.
Fantastic. That is great. Thank you. And now we have a chance to hear from Ahmed Hamamsy, our Chief Transformation Officer. We heard from Dr. Future State. We heard from Guardian of Design Space. And now we're having, Dream Space. And now we're having a chance to hear from the Transformation Officer. Please.
Thank you so much, Izabela, and thank you guys for sharing your great experiences. I lived like 25 years in my country back in Egypt, and there I learned business. I joined business school there and graduated from business school. Usually marketing was my first experience here when I moved to UAE. I'm very close to the customer. I like analytics, and I like analyzing and working on marketing research. Then after years of memorizing all the products and all that for my company, I moved to sales and operations planning. This helped me to start breaking silos between departments and better communicating plans, moving from multiple plans to single plan, and understanding all about supply chain from supplier to customer, delivery of products, all that, and working on that in different industries, pharmaceutical, FMCG, distributor side. All this led me to understand all the pain points and the organization. If I speak about my superpowers, it's transforming organizations through better communication and breaking the silos, as I said, between department, clear and ease of communication. This is very important for organization success. Of course, moving from multiple plans into a single consensus plan that's agreed for everybody in the organization, that's alignment with the vision of the company. This will lead, of course, to the better cash-to-cash cycle, reducing inventory, slim inventory, and more cash for investment through by the company in the market. So these are my super special powers, and I will say, like Shay, I'm Egyptian, I'm a pharaoh. That's one also of my superpowers.
Wow, we have a leprechauns and then a gold, pots of gold, and then we have pyramids and genies. So we're in a good company. Well, like a lot of magic is going to happen here. And then also we have, with Aravinth originally being from Singapore, we have a lot of beautiful culture aspects from that heritage. So fantastic. And now we're going to our Mr. Khaled, Unleash Master. So please share a little bit about your background and some of your superpowers.
Sure. So a little bit about myself. I'm industrial engineer. And I lived all my life, mostly 32 years, in my amazing comfort zone. But something happened last year that I started to look into myself and my life into a different way, because I used to suffer from my struggles and my self-doubt and then lower self-esteem. And at this moment, I started to reflect. I want to understand what is my real power, that I can make use of it and transform my life and transform other lives. And I found that one of my I would say, unique experience, that I have an end-to-end experience in the supply chain. I started from the make side, manufacturing. I worked in MRP, material planning, supply planning, capacity planning, export, importing, DRP, customer service, demand planning, and logistics. And all of this end-to-end experience, it allows me to put me in a higher level of thinking. So I took it into the next step, and I asked myself, how can I help people by this way? And I found that I can help people by using sales and operation planning. But I had the lack of some skills in terms of marketing and sales and finance, trade marketing. So that's why I started to come back into studying and reading about this kind of stuff. And today I'm trying to help people through Unleash, my program that I'm showing what's happening in the S&OP, what are the struggles that our business that they're facing, and put it into the operational side. So this is about what I'm doing in terms of the business. About my superpower, I would say it's 3 in 1. It's not a promotion, but it's 3 in 1. What is the 3? It's number 1, it's my positivity. Number 2, it's my storytelling ability. Number 3, it's my simplicity. And why I say it's 1, because this superpower I blended into and tried to make use of it into an educational way. How I can serve people by this blending all of this simplicity and the storytelling and positivity, put it in one mixer and help people buy it. And I started to work on it along 1 year. Just to understand how to make a content creation. I created some principles and methodology on teaching education, even online teaching. And today I'm a Udemy instructor with 1,600 students online. This is about my superpower.
Wow, that is fantastic. Having also great educational background and helping so many people and figuring out through adult learning and how they can be the best version of themselves. That is very, very, very amazing. And before we go to the next topic, I also just wanted to quickly share a little bit about me. Obviously, looking at that from the very strong leadership overview, obviously, for me, it's a passion being leadership, but also education, as for you, Khaled. And for over the years, one of my great opportunities similar to Aravinth, being former refugee and being able to actually be relocated and escape and live in 5 different countries. US is my 6th country that I lived in. Also traveled and worked with people from diverse backgrounds from over 120 countries, gave me not only great insights, but a great opportunity to really understand what the world message is and what message people are seeking, craving, and combining that, obviously, to the leadership lens and global business management lens to really understand what is happening currently, what is happening in C-suite with executives and serial entrepreneurs and decision makers, so that really organizational functions and can be dealt with better and be more effective. Because without that, none of these other aspects will be working very well, right? And then really also focusing, I'm such a huge proponent and very passionate about people. So with my background, obviously, I love developing leaders, talent, and teams, and really helping them to have that fantastic performance. So my superpowers will be obviously looking through the lens as the world messenger and as a global messenger in a way from looking through education and development, but also through that obviously high performance that really makes the impact, and obviously diversity inclusion. So with that in mind, now you guys have a little bit of overview. Who are these guys behind the Matrix Momentum and how our complementary skill builds something phenomenal here? And we will pick very quickly what that is. So let's take a quick look again, going back to Shay, a little bit about his background, how now he's leveraging and utilizing these superpowers based on some of the pain points that he is seeing organizations and experience, and some things he was able to apply. So please, Shay, take the stage.
Well, thank you, Izabela. And like, obviously, there's amazing energy with everyone here and such background stories that have brought everyone to where you are today. It's phenomenal. In terms of like what I'm seeing in the pain points, right? This has been a phenomenal year for every business, regardless. Some good, some bad, right? Some have been lucky that have been able to take account of what's happening and be able to react, and some companies have just been in the right place at the right time. But many companies have been struggling because they haven't been able to be flexible enough. Adaptation, they haven't been able to do that quick enough. They haven't been able to see what was coming next, and it's happened so quickly. It came on them like a waterfall and a wave, and they have not been able to react. This is something I'm seeing everywhere, and it's a struggle. Companies used to sell very well because they used to pick up the phone and put an order in. The phone isn't ringing anymore. They forgot how to sell. You know, there's so many different nuances. Companies that they've taken their eye off the prize, and they've just been sailing to see a success and got stranded with the sea gone out. It's been difficult for many companies, Izabela, but now companies are starting to react, albeit a bit late, but they're starting to react. And a big thing is trying to keep the glue of the people together, you know, because I'll tell you now, and I've seen it, that companies, leaders who have been really amazing with their teams, the teams are going above and beyond for their business. But the companies and the leaders who have not been good, who've been dictators, are struggling. And that is clear as day. And it's not just me, it's everywhere, not just Ireland, it's in other places. Leadership has been lacking.
Wow, thank you for sharing that perspective.
Thank you, Shay.
We have a chance now to zoom in and to see, again, as you pointed out, what's going on in Ireland, what's going on in Europe and other parts of companies that have a global reach. So no difference what we're seeing in the United States, which I will get to next, but soon, I'm sorry. But next we're going to our guest and our colleague, Aravinth, back to Berlin. Aravinth, could you please share some of the things you've seen in your with organizations that are experiencing and pain points and some possible things that you are actually been helping them with? So please.
Sure. I mean, as Shay mentioned, that the biggest challenges in organizations are, the right decisions, so informed decisions. So either it's in terms of their business, in terms of their company culture, in terms of their technology, in terms of like their investment strategy. So the informed decision has been has been it's a difficult part for company, especially in early stage companies. And some of like a person with an interdisciplinary background, I have a hands-on experience on developing innovations, and then me myself have co-founded several organizations and trained more than 120 deep tech startups in the last years. So what I see now these days, especially in the last year, that a lot of these organizations, a lot of the startups, and a lot of these small medium enterprises have kind of they got a little bit scared to start with some innovations or new innovations, because an organization, especially a startup, they have to keep innovating, and that's the only thing that they can stay in the business. If they have only one product, it is not a successful company. In startup, we say that you can define your success of your startup only on your third successful product. So, but in the last years has been so much of uncertainty, and people were really scared of taking out money and then investing it and then innovating it, and that has been a difficult challenge. And some people, and also to share some stories of one of the client, some people thought that they can go to different businesses than they know. So this is again an issue. So they think that pandemic is bringing in new forms of innovations for new domains which they really don't know, and then they go into that domain with that understanding the complexities, and then they are also losing a lot in terms of their time and the financial. So how I'm helping with the story, as I said, like one of our client mainly making fuels for race cars, and they decided to make a hand sanitizer dispensing machine for companies so that the employer can track the employees how many times they wash their hands. So it uses some form of a ID identification system and dispenses some hand sanitizer, and then people can do it. So this is something that a company which is thinking of an innovation which needs electronics, mechanics, in software and manufacturing, certification, sourcing and supply, and also UX and user interface and user experience, how that is going to be there, and also the whole social aspect of the challenge, that how many employees, especially in a country in Europe, as you might know, that a lot of data privacy is a huge thing, the GDPR, the EU regulation, right? How many employees they want to just tell the employer that how many times they washed their hands. So in those situations, as an organization with a lot of interdisciplinary expertise, we go into that client and we ask these questions. We don't say no, this is a bad idea, you're gonna fail. We rather ask the questions. Would that really make sense for your employees? Or what is your business model? Would anyone be ready to buy 20,000, 30,000 euro worth of a hand sanitizer dispensing machine when you can buy it for 100 euro or something like that? So this is how we are helping organizations to make informed decision, not only on their technical decision, but also the social, economical, environmental, and their technological domains. And that's how the interdisciplinary and background is helping me to help these customers and companies.
That is brilliant. Great share and a great example, because we have to also really pay attention to conscious leadership in social and environmental and all of those aspects. So kudos for that. And it's always great to hear what innovative approaches organizations are doing. Before we go to back to Dubai and to Hamamsy, the Chief Transformation Officer, I wanted to just acknowledge our audience that has been listening from the beginning with us here on the show, and having a chance to acknowledge our colleagues Valerie, Lisa, Cooper, and also Ahmed and Steven. I just wanted to say thank you so much for great comments and great conversation on the side and with our conversation. So being part of it is fantastic. If you have any questions, pretty soon we will be opening for a Q&A. Please, this is opportunity to add those questions. And now we're going to go to the Chief Transformation Officer. Please take a stage.
Thank you, Izabela. Of course, I can add to our great gentleman here, the Dr. Future State and Guardian of Dream Space, that here in our region, there are some problems that are repeated from one industry to another, and some pain points that there is no between the vision and between the operational and between the tactical, there is no alignment. And in some companies, they don't know their why they are doing the business and where they are heading. So this leads to a lot of conflict, a lot of hidden agendas. And some departments, they want to do something, others are conflicting this. So here comes the transformation, that we want to break this, we want to coordinate this, we want to communicate, want clarity, want ease of communication between the departments. We want them to collaborate, to do something different, not to depend on multiple plans, to collaborate, to have a consensus plan which is endorsed from the top management. This really it lacks in a lot of company. It takes some effort. It takes training people to understand the importance of an operation like sales and operation planning, which links this high-end objectives to down to the operational and tactical level, to the day-to-day operations. So this is part of the struggles here in the region, and it takes time to solve it. It takes patience. It takes also thought leadership, that they are sponsoring this thing and giving it a push. Because it's not easy, and it's a day-to-day struggle, especially what happened in the pandemic. Companies started to focus only on the day-to-day activities, so it's a firefighting mode. We're not focusing on the why of the company. We're not focusing that this will end at some time. We're not focusing on the contingency plans and what-if scenarios and all that. So this to share the situation here in our region.
Thank you so much for sharing some of those pain points that we're also seeing across the globe, but definitely North America, which I will address shortly. But I just wanted to say, a lot of times what we're seeing specifically right now, Shay also mentioned, and Aravinth, about we're not making proactive change and transformation. We're doing forced change, and we're not really taking consideration all the aspects of it. So with that in mind, we're going to turn this opportunity also to hear from our Lynch master, Mr. Khaled, that is joining us from Saudi Arabia, from Riyadh. So please, what are some of your experiences? What are you observing?
Yes, I will speak about my passion again, about the sales and operational planning. And I will categorize it into 2 points, and I name it under the equilibrium state. So the first pain point, it's how to manage the demand and the supply side. And this is a very big dilemma inside the organization. And simply the supply and demand, what is your unconstrained demand? What is the real dream demand that the company wants to sell? And the supply, what is your constrained demand? For instance, I would say we want to sell 100, and our constraint, it's the supply, it's 90. So we have a problem with 10. It's like a gap. And if we go into these categories and these losses, we have many challenges inside because of the lack of capability. But I will say what are the challenges that most organizations they face, but they don't understand it. Number one, it's the forecast bias. Whatever the sales happened, anything is because of uncertainty or biased forecast. This will take from the norms of the organization, stock norms. This is number one. Number two, it's the forecast variance, and this is a hidden element. If your stock transfer horizon, if the company has a portfolio with imported items with 3 months or 4 months lead time, it doesn't make sense if you change the forecast in the short term. I have already a GIT, or I have stocks is coming along the way, so it's affecting drastically the inventory level of the companies. So I recommend these thoughts for sure. How to generate the baseline rightly, how to generate the promotional plan accordingly with a thought leading and very credible thoughts. And thirdly, what is the best model, operational model? Either it's make to stock, make to order, assemble to order, whatever industry that they use, because you cannot use the same model across all portfolio. And this thing, I saw it in many articles across the organization. They use one model for all the portfolio. Either it's A, B, C class, they use it for all organization. This is regarding the first equilibrium state. So it's about the supply and demand. Number two, it's the mix versus the volume. And what I mean here, what is the volume that you will speak about? What is the language that will be used inside the sales and operational planning, and how you will break down these proportional factors into the SQ level? And let me take you through it by something called the product hierarchy and customer hierarchy. So we will go it top down. You will use it to a business. Then the lower level, it's the market or segment, and then you will see it as a category, then brand, then you will take it as a family, and then you can move it as a pack size or format, then SQ level, then you can go SQ location because of the DRP, and then SQ customer. So the companies, most companies, they're struggling on how to pick the best forecasting unit. Either it's CPG, either it's format, either whatever, because the longer that whenever you go down on this hierarchy, the more time you will spend in the agendas inside the S&OP. So this is the main 2 points, and these 2 points, I would say the equilibriums, it needs a leadership, a real leadership, and the capability. Because if you ask many organizations, they want everything. Seriously, everything. We want the highest margin. We want the best inventory, lowest inventory. We want to have the least cost. We want to have the shortest lead time. It doesn't make sense. So aggregating the business strategy into organizational strategy and translate it through into a supply chain strategy using the S&OP, robust S&OP, it's the right way that we can speak about it. And this is, I wouldn't say only not for this region, this common, it's across all worldwide, because S&OP, it's the process. It's not about the process. Mainly, it's about the people.
Great.
That is such a powerful statement. And looking and listening to all of you, what you shared, all these different segments that interconnect in organization or should interconnect, but in reality, they don't, right? We still see tons of silos. We see a lot of disconnect. We see competing agendas. We see things done old way that it's not serving and not helping. And that is something I also wanted to portray and share what is going on in North America, specifically obviously the United States, but also because of Fortune 500 companies that have a global reach, what they're experiencing as a result. We're seeing more than ever, and everything boils back to the leadership. And I'm hearing this not only from you guys, but also from the comments from, for example, Stephen, who is also very much so as a subject matter expert in leadership, when he says that leadership is lacking everywhere. The reality is glim from that standpoint, and it's very true. And why is the case? Because we have the largest and biggest gap now in the leadership quality skill sets than we had ever before. And on top of it, we have a high demand of the characteristics and skill sets that are required to lead in the future and complexity of the future. So if you're not already equipped and able to do that very well, and on top of it, you're being added all these extra stuff, you're going to definitely not be able to be successful. And primarily reason why we're not seeing so much of the leadership traction is because we're not making fast enough decision. We're not evaluating right decision. We're not actually asking people questions, the right people, like people in your different sectors and divisions that already know the answer and they already have a part of the solution, because we're not having dialogues as we're having right now, which is unfortunate, right? What I'm seeing also is the huge shift that is happening, how to lead in times of uncertainty, for something that many of these leaders are not equipped to do. They never had magnitude of issues that they're having right now. Everything, though, is being swept under the rug, bled through, and came out during the pandemic. Everything that we ignored, and as we always know, at least this is how it's been in North America, it's always been investment in technology and then improvement of some processes, and people are always left less. Organizations that did reversely, that build their teams and organizations so well and focus on their people as the biggest assets, those are the ones that are not only innovating, that are already disrupting, that are already transforming, but they're also leading the pack. That doesn't mean they're smarter but they just allow to create a phenomenal team. They allow to have everybody's voice heard. They allow to develop not only where it's needed to be, but also focus on their performance and their needs and from human perspective. So leading with uncertainty, it's a very hazy. The other pressure that I'm seeing from C-suite that is coming up, it's a growth. How do you grow? First of all, you don't have no idea where the mark is, what's going to happen, but yet you have a pressure to expedite the growth. And with everything that is going on, the length of pandemic, economic crisis, and not as fast or quick decisions, first things we always see, no matter what crisis we're talking about, and this pandemic, it was no difference. What happens? We shave off infrastructure of organization. I'm looking also at organizational charts. They look like a Swiss cheese with the huge holes in it because we let go of so many people in different departments, yet we expect so many things to happen there. And people that worked, they're burned out, they're overworked, they're tired, and they're really looking forward either to get extra support or truly to leave companies because they don't have any more to do. And then it's so sad to see these realities. But again, thought leadership. Leaders need to be more than ever visible. Coaching, when we do a strategic advisory sessions, because they're so overwhelmed with everything else that is going on in their world. And reality is we cannot do this alone. So that what we also see, what we're asking, what we're expecting, and what we're looking for, and what people here are demanding, it's I'm having a test where I'm at. Sorry, guys. Well,
okay.
Let's
Now you're back.
take this see, because thought leadership is lacking, and it's alarming, isn't it?
Yes.
Right.
So, with that in mind, I just wanted to wrap up and say we have a lot of unforeseen issues. Like in this moment that I'm here in the ski resort with fire alarm test that I didn't have no idea what's going to happen. So luckily, I don't smell the fire. I don't smell the smoke. So I guess I'm good to go.
Look, like just listen to
But
everyone.
with that in mind, I just
Izabela,
Yes.
safety comes first, so it's okay.
So
the alarm is done. I'm glad. I hopefully will not repeat.
Great.
But I just wanted to reflect for a second and really go back to Shay and Hamamsy, Aravinth, and Khaled, and just really, if you don't mind, just to sharing a little bit more with some questions that came through, because we have a little bit of technological delay. I think as everybody have Macs these days, so we have a little bit of delay. So we apologize for that. But one of the questions that keeps coming up is, what would you suggest? What would be some of your recommendations? We're not necessarily going into solution, but just seeing and hearing all of this. What are some of your thought thinking from the leadership standpoint? Anyone?
yeah, well, like if I can take that first of all, Izabela, like the very first thing the company needs to do, like, is to really step back and go, what's going on? What's going in the market? What's going on in the marketplace? What's going on with our business? What's going on with our sales team? They need to take stock of where they are, the good, the bad, and the ugly, before they can actually build any plan going forward. You know, and Hamamsy, you said, you mentioned that there's tactics. Like, there's a great quote that I love to share, that from The Art of War, Sun Tzu, The Art of War, where tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. You know, and it's so important to really understand what kind of strategy do you need, and what kind of trading economy, for what kind of teams, for what kind of process, what kind of supply chain. Because as you've heard from everyone here, so many things, there's so many variables and criteria for success. So many things can go wrong at the best of times. But look at it in a pandemic now, it's just added, there's just so many more added variables. It's made it more difficult, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. You know, I've proven in my own business, when I went through my first business in 2007, went through that recession, I was owed 7-figure sum at one stage by my customers, right? But the point to tell you that is, I got through it. There is ways, and companies actually don't realize how close they are. They just have to start getting everything aligned, going the same direction, complementing each other, not contradicting. And it does take a bit of thought, like, to understand, from even what Aravinth was saying about knowing your why, understanding your mission, understanding there's a marketplace for what you want to do, how you innovate. So many things need to be thought about and answered before you actually make a decision. So think of where you are today in all regards.
And who you need to include in that decision making, right? Because a lot of times it's shocking to me how many people that should be having a seat at a table, they're not present. Yet they're being imposed upon what they need to deliver and what's being expected. And that is unfortunate, because that delays more, that crumbles the trust. And as a result, we're seeing so much fermentation. And I can't tell you, through many surveys and conversations and efforts that I've put together in the last 12 to 14 months, what talent and teams are experiencing. It is very excruciating. And it's just very, very sad and unfortunate how such a great talent and teams are actually so disconnected, that are underperforming and so disengaging. That's like, now it doesn't matter what you're trying to motivate them with, unless you have a clear direction, it's not going to happen. So I'm curious, what has been your experience, Aravinth, in some of those dynamics from the thought leadership standpoint, please?
Yeah, thanks, Izabela. Yeah, so as I'm mostly dealing with the small, medium enterprises and early stage startups, starting with the very deep tech innovation. So it can be a biotechnology, nanotechnology, just a spin-off, a breakthrough, brilliant idea from a lab, a university, or just lying down and looking at your ceiling. You got a brilliant idea, and then you want to just start a startup because you're in the capital of one of the European capital of startups. That's very common. That's how the leaders and the teams are. But the biggest thing is idea. That what I see is that idea is cheap. The execution matters.
Yes.
And this is where they fail, because they think that, I have a brilliant idea, so I would, just win everywhere. It is not that. The execution is the difficult part. And especially in deep tech innovation, what we call is a death valley, because it's not a software startup or software innovation, but you do something and you send, over there, over the internet, you send those patches and bug fixes and something. When you have a physical product, once it's manufactured, it's made. You cannot just go and change that physically. And to get to that stage from an idea and the execution stage till they have the first batch of their produced product, which is combination of electronics, mechanics, embedded systems, software, manufacturing, chemistry, biotechnology, nanotechnology, and it involves a lot of stuff. And this is a stage most of the company fail. That's why it's called as death valley. Because the death valley of a hardware startup is the stage from an idea till their first batch. Exactly. The first batch, that means not a mass manufacture, but something that you can show to the market as a pilot or a demonstrator or to the investors. So this is where organizations like startups, they think that some startups, they think the other way, that we would go with the idea and raise the money and then find experts who can help them to get the idea to the first batch, or so to say, idea to production. And some people think that, it's going to cost so much and we will do it ourselves. And these are the people who die in the death valley. And that's what the complexities of innovations coming from very academic background, coming from different domains, and they need to have these experts either in-house or outside. They need to have some people who can see the whole life cycle and help them to make the informed decisions.
That is fantastic, and I love the analogy of Dead Valley, and it just made me think about it involved in some post-merger and acquisition efforts. How often those efforts also could be the resources here and talent is there, but how much of this can happen? And because of competing instead of complementing, you can create exactly the dead valley by delaying and not seeing actually the effects and results that you anticipated as decision you made in order to enhance or merge two companies together and two teams together. Now we have a chance to also hear from Hamamsy, who is again sharing a little bit of his perspective, what he's seen in Dubai and in United Arab Emirates.
Yeah, Isabella. Yes, of course. My friends here, they said a lot of values. So I'll add also to that. Listening to the customer, the voice of customer is very important, and a lot of time people lack this. They think because they are a big company or a big brand, people will just blend and buy their products or services, but things are changing, as you know, because the technology changing, the way that you communicate to people is changing, the communication in different media is changing. So you must listen to your customer. You must go back and take the feedback from the customer. That's very, 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 very important. We can put on under this 100 lines. Also giving the right customer experience from starting of using the product, from everything about your product. This is how you will get feedback. This is how you will retain your customers. This is how you will be able to add more and more customers by the word of mouth. If we go to our also my first passion as marketing. So this is the word of mouth. Still, this is the strongest tool to increase your business, to grow your business, and to prosper. So I wanted to add this point to the discussion.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Amazing.
And now we have a chance to hear from Khaled. Please, Khaled, share your perspective and some of your
For sure. So I will speak mainly about the pain points that I see right now also, and how we can overcome it in terms of leadership. And I would like to categorize it into 4 C's. So number 1 is communication, clarity, credibility, and commitment. So all of these C's, if you have a lack of one, trust me that the whole organization will be in a big struggles, because the leaders are almost the captain of the ship, or they are writing the script of the organization. So any struggle in terms of commitment, in terms of commitment to the process, commitment to the business strategy, commitment to the tools itself, it has no exception, because this will bring the organization into commitment. And lack of communication, I would say, the communication, the amplitude of the communication, when it comes up, down, the uncertainty, it goes up when it goes down, because when you go from a level to a level, a lower level, you will go into a mess at the end of the operational level, because the uncertainty, it comes high. So commitment to communication, and I would say credibility between all functional organizations, and the clarity and on everything, and commitment, it is the key for a successful leadership and going into the business strategy, achieving it. This is, I would say, this is the 4 C's that we have to rely on it.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Really. So
that
good.
is fantastic. I'm so glad you touched on also some really actionable and strategic aspects of it, and what leaders can do to streamline and simplify. But one of the things that I'm also seeing is importance to actually really figure it out, what is not working, what should we stop completely altogether to, right? What should we do less of, and what should we double up and do more of, because it's working very well. And at the same thing in terms of products and services. So as you were mentioning, from S&OP standpoint, also through the supply chain, through operations, as well from top of technology and level of support, all the way to strategy, and of course, the top tier leadership conversation that needs to happen. And what I'm finding that is very challenging for so many people, they're not equipped to have a challenging conversations. We're seeing way too much around the elephant in the room, and sometimes multiple major elephants that are suffocating the team, the creativity, the performance, as well as trust and loyalty, and people that are really looking to, as soon economy improves, to depart, to look at in different directions. Here in the United States, it's just been very, very challenging. And of course, still very high rates of unemployment. Because not necessarily because the company don't need that extra talent and cannot hire, but they're waiting, and they think by saving money or preserving and buckling down instead of innovating and pushing, pressing forward and adding to what they need to do to be successful, they're escaping. And that is something that I just wanted to highlight here, and yes, communication where they can have transparent dialogue. What is really going on? Sadly, many don't know the pulse of their organization at the moment, what exactly is, where they're at, let alone where they want it to be. Because what I'm hearing specifically, actually was consulting with the sales team and in different geographical regions around Middle East and Africa. And what was very interesting is that what they were asked to produce, regardless of the COVID and how much pressure was being created and how artificial goals were that could not be supported with any data, that would create so much friction, so much stress, and so much pain points to their people. So again, we have to look at how we're leading, are we serving, are we thinking from front about our people or not? And then what do we need to do to change that? Because when we change that, everything else change. Any other comments, gentlemen?
Well, just to add to that, just to like listen to what Khaled has said, and it's something that I see all the time as well, right? And it's a bit of what you said, Izabela, and what you said, Khaled. Communication, right? Like a lot of middle management, senior management are too busy managing up, right? Too busy, and excuse my term, covering their backsides, right? Too busy doing their own metrics, trying to feed their own bosses with information and trying to do everything right, but they forget about the people underneath them, the people who are the gold, the people doing all the hard work, people who know all the things that can help them get trees. You talk about industrial engineering, Khaled, like these people on the ground, they're not just robots, they have great ideas, and you're not leveraging them. They're the doers. You know, if you want to start making things better, you know, talk to them. And it's not just in your manufacturing, it's your supply chain, it's your marketing team, it's your sales team. These are the people on the ground collecting all this information. You have the information, you need to leverage it, you know, and it's so important to get that connection between the people, the communication, and have everything complementing each other, because I see it doesn't everywhere I go.
Love it, yes.
Amazing.
That
Well
is-
summarized.
Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I say well summarized. You nailed it.
And then looking now from global perspective, since like no much difference what's going on in North America versus what's happening in Europe or Asia or Middle East, since like we're having same or similar problems, and pretty much all boil down to back to what are we doing, how we're doing, and how we're leading. And then how can we lead better in all of these different departments and be exemplary, but also create a success and stabilize organizations for that success.
Perfect. Absolutely.
So gentlemen, was absolute pleasure to have opportunity to be with you here today, and just to a little bit give a scratch the surface of what is Matrix Momentum all about. And with everybody else that are curious and wonder, you guys have to come and see us next Wednesday, same time, same place, so that we can really share more. But with that, before we do, I just wanted to have an opportunity for my colleagues around that are here on the panel to close with some of their really thought-provoking questions. I know you distilled so much of great information, so would love to hear, just starting with, again, Shay, what that thought-provoking question you want to leave audience with?
I have a question. This is the question I ask all the companies I work with, or all my friends and colleagues in business who are struggling. I ask them this question, and I get head scratching. I said, what is your value? What is your value? Do you know your value? Think about that, because you can't go anywhere forward without knowing what your value is.
Amazing.
Fantastic. How about you, Aravinth?
So that's as summarized. For any smaller complex problem, there are tools that can be used to efficiently solve. But most of the time, did your company choose a technology solution for a problem? But is that solution becoming yet another problem? So
Yes.
How do you solve that?
Yeah.
That is brilliant too. Wow.
That's an amazing point.
Fantastic. Between you and Shay, we're such a strong, great start here. And now we're going to Hamamsy. Hamamsy, please share your question.
Well, the question, always the million-dollar question for me is: are you aligned with your vision? Do you understand your why? Are you understanding the concept of lead time? Are you communicating well? Are you breaking the silos? Is there hidden agendas? Be clear, be precise, be concise, and communicate well to succeed and reach your end goals.
Brilliant. That is a fantastic one as well. Very complimentary. And Khaled, what is your question?
I will say the same question that I asked in the video. So what is the missing link between the inputs and the outputs inside your organization?
That is brilliant. And one thing that I wanted to tie all this together for me is about how you're leading and supporting your leadership, talent, and teams. And if are you doing that in a way that is actually having the most impact? Is the way how they need it the most, what they desire the most, so that they can make it happen what they need to make it happen on their end. So with that in mind, our dear guests, thank you so much for your participation. Nidal, I love your questions here. Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to answer all of them. Adil, thank you so much for participating as well, and everybody else that showed up. We're looking forward to our future conversations because we're going to be doing this weekly, and we'll have a chance and opportunity also to bring some of your questions to the stage. This has just been a little introduction about Matrix and Momentum and what we're all about. Now we just wanted to wish you all fantastic rest of the day, and we're going to be hopefully able to do this time because of bandwidth.
Are you sick and tired of being stuck in dysfunctional organization? While other executives and leaders are far less qualified with far more impact and success. They're winning better clients, better relationship, and generating new opportunities, even during the recession. You must be wondering what they're doing differently. So let's discover your infinite leadership and organizational potential.
What is your moonshot vision? Or do you even know? Have you been sailing to see success without any future planning? See, many companies get lured to this false sense of security. They take their eye off the prize, and all of a sudden the tide's gone out and they're left stranded in the dock. Is that what you want for your business?
Boom. We're hanging.
I guess this is it, guys. Have a fantastic day and wish you a safe and fantastic rest of the day wherever you are globally.
See you next week.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.